Lots of terminations are unfair. But what is it that makes an unfair termination an illegal or wrongful termination? My name is Joe Gibson, and I'm a Maryland wrongful termination lawyer. Let's talk about it. Maryland isn't just a crab state, it's an at-will state, which means your Maryland employer can fire you at any time and for almost any reason. But it's the almost that matters here. A wrongful termination is a termination that violates either a law or a public policy. For example, a Maryland employer can't fire someone because of their sex or gender. That would violate a federal law, Title VII, a Maryland law, Title 20, and depending on where you are in Maryland, a county or city law as well. Firing someone because of their sex or gender is a wrongful termination by written law. But I also mentioned public policies. You can bring a wrongful termination lawsuit against the Maryland employer even if your termination didn't technically violate any laws. In 1981, the Maryland Court of Appeals took up a case called Adler v. American Standard. And the Court of Appeals ruled that we, as a society, have deemed certain reasons for firing someone to be illegitimate. For example, as a society, we've decided that you can't fire someone because they took time off to serve on a jury, to vote, or to take part in military service. Now, because it was such a landmark case, Maryland wrongful termination lawyers, like myself, sometimes refer to these public policy cases as Adler cases. So now that you know a wrongful termination is one that violates either a law or public policy, let's talk about what you need to prove in a wrongful termination case. In Maryland, a wrongful termination claim has three elements. First, you need to show that you were discharged, which means you were fired or laid off. Second, you need to show that your discharge violated a clear mandate of public policy. That means it violated either a written rule or the types of public policies that we just talked about. Lastly, and most importantly, you need to show that there was a nexus or connection between your conduct and the employer's decision to discharge you. It's this third element, the nexus element, that wrongful termination lawyers tend to focus on. Whether or not you were actually fired, and whether or not there's an applicable law or public policy, aren't usually the main dispute in wrongful termination cases. Instead, an employer will usually say, sure, we fired them. And sure, sex discrimination is illegal, but we didn't fire them because of their sex. That's the rub. In a wrongful termination case, an employer will come up with all kinds of legal reasons to justify your termination and say that's why they fired you. This brings me to my next and last point. What you need to do to protect yourself if you've been wrongfully terminated. First, you need to create a paper trail. Keep written records of your performance reviews, comments by your supervisors, and if you have been fired, any documents your employer gave you regarding your termination. It may be helpful to demand that your employer give you a written explanation of why they're discharging you. They don't have to give you a written explanation, but in our experience, they often will, and that can be powerful evidence in a wrongful termination case, especially if their written explanations don't match up with the records you've kept about your job performance. Any discrimination, etc. The second thing you need to do is reach out to a Maryland wrongful termination lawyer immediately. Depending on what type of wrongful termination you're dealing with, there will be strict filing deadlines, ranging from as little as 180 days to up to 3 years. But the filing deadlines, also known as statutes of limitation, aren't really the biggest issue. In our experience here at the center, evidence and witness memories degrade very quickly. And if we're able to preserve documents and talk to witnesses right away, you're generally going to have a stronger wrongful termination case. And there's really no reason to delay talking to a lawyer. Here at the Employment Law Center of Maryland, we can generally get you a same-day consultation with a lawyer, and that consultation will be both free and confidential. You can reach out to us on our website at www.elcmd.org or by calling us at 240-384-5705. At the Employment Law Center of Maryland, we sue bad bosses.